Welcome. I just wanted to welcome everyone to the Time Matters platform. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Evelyn Jerome-Alexander, and she is an educational consultant. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today.
Thank you, Sharice. It's really great to be here.
Awesome. So you have your bachelor's from Johns Hopkins and your master's degree from George Washington University, and your certificate in college counseling with distinction from UCLA,
Yep.
which, I have a special place in my heart for UCLA. I'm a Bruin. So tell me a little bit more about you, and as the owner of the Megellan College Counseling, tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Thank you. So I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm still based here. I'm in the San Fernando Valley. And as you said, I went away to college, experienced the East Coast, learned that it was hot in the summer and cold in the winter, and came home. And for about 20 years, I used to run political campaigns. So I would write all of that fun junk mail that you get in your mailbox right before an election. Yay. And I would write the scripts for those really annoying phone calls that you get right before an election. But the whole time I was doing my political stuff, my extracurricular activity was I used to interview students for Johns Hopkins as a volunteer. But I got really involved in it. I used to train other alumni, and I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of students. And to be honest, I saw the stress level ratchet up to this really crazy place. And I thought there has to be a better solution than kids getting so stressed out. And so about 11 years ago, I found as you mentioned, the certificate in college counseling program at UCLA. And the bad news about being an independent college counselor is there's no required licensure. There's no training that you have to call yourself a college counselor. So there are lots of people out there who say that they will help you, help your child through the college search and application process. But what I always tell people is if you are planning on hiring a college counselor, make sure you look for someone who has been trained and who takes their profession seriously. So I earned my certificate in college counseling from UCLA. I teach in UC Berkeley's college counseling certificate program now. And I started Megellan 10 years ago. Just me, telling people, hey, I can help your kid apply to college. And just through the years, people started, sort of gravitating to me, and I started to build a little team. So we now have 14 counselors on our team. About half of us are in California, but we also have someone in Chicago, someone in Texas, someone in Colorado, someone in Seattle, and we have someone in Northern California as well. So we're kind of everywhere. And after, this crazy year, we work with kids on Zoom. So we have clients all over the country.
That's great. And it's really great that you mentioned the certification part, because even when I was reading your bio, I was like, oh, that's awesome that there's actually a certified professional, because there are several. And it's good to know, what your expertise is. Yeah. So as we talk about that stressful time, we're coming up on the decision day, May 1st. So, you've got the whole country is, they have to make their decisions, and you see the parents are as stressed as the kids are, just trying to figure out what's the decision. But as we talk about this process, because it is a process, can you talk about when really is the best time to start talking about college and, what you need to prepare for that process?
Right. It's a really good question. And the funny thing is, or maybe it's annoying, every question you ask me, the answer is it depends, right? So if you're talking about the money side, if you're talking about when should we start thinking about paying for college, the answer is like when your kids are in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, right? Because if you don't talk to a financial advisor until your child is in 10th grade and you only have 2 years left, that's not a lot of time to plan, right? So I don't do the money side. So this would be where you talk to your financial advisor. And I would say the earlier, the better. They would probably say the earlier, the better. When you talk about the academic preparation though, so nothing that you do before ninth grade counts for college, right? So sometimes, like last night, I actually gave a presentation to a group of middle school parents, which is always interesting, because sometimes if you have like a superstar kid who's really smart and really advanced in middle school, and for example, they're winning national spelling bees, or they're, taking national math exams, their question is always, does this count? And the reality is it doesn't.
Right.
What you do starting in ninth grade academically and outside the classroom is what counts. However, if you've done some incredible things before you get to ninth grade, and you arrive at ninth grade and you build on them, then obviously it will be clear that you've been doing some really amazing things for a long time. But I would say, to me, part of what breeds the stress of this process is when parents start saying to their kids, everything you do counts. Everything you do starting in ninth grade counts. And you know what? I would say this. There's 2,200 four-year colleges out there. It's way more than most people think. And of course, you're not going to research all of them. And of course, you're not going to apply to all of them. But the reality is, no matter what level your child is academically, there is a right fit college for them. So if you have a kid who kind of slacks off in ninth grade, or, just discovered that girls exist in ninth grade, which is kind of common for boys, right?
Right.
And the grades ended up not so great. It's okay. There's no need to put extra pressure on your child and tell them that everything they're doing right now counts for college, right? So the bottom line is, if you don't fixate on one specific end result, and to be honest with you, UCLA is a perfect example, right? UCLA gets 100,000 applications every year, right? And when they admit 15,000 of them, right? So, and by the way, this year they got 130,000 applications.
I know. Crazy. It really is.
So as long as you aren't, it's just crazy. So as long as you aren't fixated on one result, as long as you keep your view of what's available really broad, and as long as you focus on what's right for your individual child, and that's why the answer to everything is it depends. It depends on who your child is. Then guess what? It's all going to work out fine.
So and I've got four kids. And so going through the process, looking for that right fit.
Yep.
And so I love that you mentioned that, sometimes in ninth grade, you're still trying to figure things out. And I think the importance of not having that one school in mind, because that is a stressful position for parents and for the students.
Yeah.
So when you were speaking with those middle school parents, this kind of leads me into my next question about math. And my question regarding math, and I've heard it so many times, is the gatekeeper as you're going through your high school years. Can you talk a little bit about that topic and how it really can affect your opportunities?
It can. And the funny thing is, whenever I get a call from a parent, literally the first question I ask them is, what math is your student in? I'm always amused when I ask that question, and then parents like, I'm not really sure if it's algebra. And I'm like, yeah, you got to know what math your kid is in. It truly is the gatekeeper. And the main reason from my perspective that math is the gatekeeper is that you are only prepared to sit for the SAT or ACT after you have completed Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. And sorry, usually they're not in that order, right? It's usually Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. I have no idea why, by the way. That's weird to me.
Nor do I.
Like, let's spend a year forgetting algebra and then doing something completely different. And also, honestly, some kids, kids for whom algebra is easy, sometimes geometry is not, right? And they thought they liked math in one grade, and then the next grade they're like, holy cow, I hate math.
Right.
And then we go back to algebra, which they liked, which is kind of confusing. But anyway, no one ever asks me how to run the world. So
I love that you said that though, because I feel the exact same way.
Isn't that weird?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And funny enough, I went to private school my whole life, and I took Algebra 1 in 7th grade, Algebra 2 in 8th grade, and then Geometry in 9th grade. And I just thought that was the way you did it, because that certainly made sense. But Algebra 1 in 7th grade is early. And I'll tell you something. In the, I don't even want to say worst case scenario, in a typical high school scenario, you would take Algebra 1 in 9th grade, Geometry in 10th grade, Algebra 2 in 11th grade, which prepares you to take the SAT or ACT in the spring of your junior year, which is totally fine. It is not late. I'll talk to you a little bit about why I like it earlier if you want.
Okay, yes,
but
I
if
do.
you end up on, okay, so if you end up on that sequence though, Algebra 1 in 9th, Geometry in 10th, Algebra 2 in 11th, totally fine. Pre-calculus or math analysis in senior year is totally fine. So let me talk to you about AP statistics though. So what I say to people whose kids are maybe a year advanced, right? They take algebra in 8th grade, Algebra 1 in 8th grade, Geometry in 9th, Algebra 2 in 10th. This is good. And so here's the let's pull the SAT earlier conversation. If you take Algebra 2 in 10th grade, you have basically all of the math you need for the SAT and ACT at the end of 10th grade. The kids who are on that path typically take 3 or maybe 4 or maybe 5 AP classes their junior year. They're those like go get them advanced kids. And if you're taking 3, 4, 5 AP classes your junior year, fast forward to spring of your junior year, your head is going to be full of APUSH and AP Lang and APES and AP Bio and AP Comp Sci and lots of stuff, and there's exams in May. So why would I want you to layer on top of that the SAT or ACT? I don't want you to do that. So we pull it earlier. So when I have a student who has taken Algebra 2 in 10th grade, I say at the end of the school year, after finals in June, we're going to have you take a full-length practice SAT and a week later, a full-length practice ACT. I always tell kids there's going to be 2 days that you hate me. It's going to be those 2 days. I'm not looking for the score. I don't care what the score is. I'm trying to figure out which test you take better, which one you like better, and which one we see more room for improvement. So once we have those 2 practice scores, practice, not the full one, practice scores, we pick one, we put the other one away, we never think about it again. We're going to go with this one, right? So one of the questions I get a lot is, I took the SAT, I got a really good score. Should I take the ACT as well? No, literally the answer is no. Put your time on something else.
Right.
We have to think about opportunity cost, right? How much time does it take for you to prep for these exams and do well? I don't want you wasting that time. If you already have a good score, we're good. So for those advanced math kids, we pull the SAT or ACT to the fall of their junior year. Let's prep over the summer. Let's take it in the fall or even winter, early winter. There's a December exam of both. There's also a February ACT and a March SAT. But even by March, you've still got all that AP craziness. It's a little late for me. So I love it when we can just blast and take it once or twice in the fall of your junior year and let's be done with it.
And be done. I love that. And so I really appreciate you talking about how math ties in with that timetable. And so that really, when we're talking about the planning process, it depending on where you live, but having that math, that Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, which everyone does not do, and having the conversation about it. And I think that's more of what I really want parents to understand, is that having the knowledge of when to take it, if your kid is ready or if your school division has that opportunity, but you can't learn about it in 8th grade. So you would have had to have seen how your kid is doing before then. And so you're really looking at that upper elementary, how is your kid doing in math? And if they need help at that point, to give them the help they need so that they can be better prepared.
Yep, very true. I would say though, for people who do it the way I did it, there's no benefit to getting to calculus by your junior year. There's really no benefit. And let me go back to what I was going to say about AP statistics. So every college I talk to, and honestly, I spend hours and hours and hours talking to college admissions reps and like the people who read applications, right? There's no benefit to getting beyond calculus. If you get to AP calculus, even calculus by your senior year, that is considered ahead. That is considered college ready. If you get to AP calculus your junior year, the problem you might encounter is your school needs to give you a math your senior year, right? And all they have available is AP statistics. So let me tell you about AP statistics. As parents, right, we understand that statistics are useful in life.
Right.
However, AP statistics is viewed by colleges as the math for students who can't take calculus. They're just not ready for it. So it is not a step up from calculus. So when I do encounter, a highly gifted student who got to calculus their junior year and their school counselor wants to put them in AP stats their senior year, I say, let's go look at what the local community college offers. Let's see if we can find a linear algebra or a multivariable calculus. You really have to go up from calculus, not sideways. Or down. Yeah.
Wow. That's a nice pearl of wisdom there that I think parents will really appreciate. And it's still a benefit if you have gone that way, you have had it, but it's not an ideal. So if you're thinking about how the college sees it, and that is really, as a parent, what I would want to know, how does this benefit my student from that perspective? Although you could also have that college credit and it would be maybe an elective that it would satisfy. So that's good. Can you also speak to, in this preparation process, extracurricular activities and the significance of those?
So do you remember how when we applied to college, we were trying to be well-rounded? We did a sport, we did student government, we did theater, we volunteered, we did a little bit of everything. This is not the standard today. So are you ready? Colleges are looking for pointy. We don't want well-rounded, we want pointy. So what does that mean? It means pick, and this is again, something you want to start thinking about in 8th grade or 9th grade, pick 3 activities. A lot of kids are tempted to join 10 clubs and do everything there is. You know what? Pick 3 and figure out which one you love. And it doesn't have to be an in-school activity. It can be something your church organizes. It can be something in your community that's not connected to school. I actually love activities that are not school connected, because when you look at the way colleges review applications, they're going to review kids from the same school.
Right.
I don't want to say against each other, but kids from the same school are reviewed in the same context.
Right.
And so if everybody is in Model UN, right, like I work with a school here in Southern California where Model UN is like the thing to do. Everybody does Model UN, which means it's not that interesting to do Model UN because everybody does it. But if you instead, or if you did Model UN, but you also if you volunteered at your local library every Saturday for 3 years, that would show depth of involvement. And honestly, colleges are looking to your extracurricular activities as a window to see how you will contribute to their community. You have to start seeing a college application as sort of a job interview, right? And it's colleges trying to evaluate not how you've done in the past, but how you will contribute to their community in the future. That's really what they're trying to figure out.
And I really think that is a big point that students and parents need to really think about. And I like that you said the pointy, as opposed to, we use well-rounded, and really it's how are you distinguishing yourself from your peers, and understanding that you are being looked at from your group of what's available. And I think part of the process and you can speak to it, when people actually take the time to go on tours, to hear what those deans are saying about their community and what's important. And I think when you go on those tours, it's of course a challenge right now, but we have virtual tours.
Yeah.
But I love the in-person better, of course. But I think it's really important when we're talking about the process, when is a good time to start taking a look?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've seen the, you know, the 12th grade every weekend, parents are flying all over and driving everywhere to take a look at these schools. And it's like, maybe you didn't need to even apply to that school had you gone on a tour to take a look at that.
So it's interesting. There's kind of two ways to look at it. If you start doing some, well, the first thing I would recommend is tour colleges in your area, right? And at first, you're not looking at them specifically, you're looking at type, right? So choose a big state university to tour that's near you. Choose a small liberal arts college that's near you, right? So you're in Northern Virginia, tour George Mason University, tour University of Maryland, run up to Baltimore and tour Goucher College, right? Tour, perfect example, tour both George Washington University and American University for mid-size colleges in a city, but entirely different campuses, right? I called GW and I got my master's at GW, so I know the campus, obviously. GW is an urban campus. It's the NYU of Washington, D.C., right?
Yes, that's a perfect description. Yes.
Right, and American is the Columbia of Washington, D.C. It's a beautiful enclosed campus. It's in a lovely residential neighborhood. You walk a quarter mile to the metro and boom, you're downtown.
Right.
You know, where I live, I have people visit Occidental College. It's a nice little liberal arts college up in the hills. I have them tour Loyola Marymount because it's a nice mid-sized, very similar to American, actually mid-sized, beautiful enclosed campus in a residential neighborhood. And of course we have them tour UCLA, and then sometimes we have them run down to USC as well. And you're just you're trying to figure out where your child is comfortable. And this is part of the problem. So we're not looking for college for you, mom and dad. We're looking for where your child will be happy and successful. So sometimes you'll drive up to a college campus, you'll have registered in advance for their tour, right? You drive up, you park, you get out of the car, you look at your kid, and your kid's like, nope, 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 these are not my people. Guess what? Believe them, trust them. You'll know.
Yes.
You'll know if it's not your people, right? I didn't go to UCLA for undergrad because I knew it was way too big for me, right? It was super intimidating. Both my parents went there. I thought I was going to get lost. Don't know what I would have done there. Hopkins was the exact right size for me. So size is a big factor. You have to really ask your child, do you like group discussions? Do you like being one of 30 people in a classroom, or are you okay in in an auditorium where there's 400 people? Sometimes I work with students who have 600 kids in their whole class, right, in their whole grade. And I say, okay, how would you feel if everyone in your grade were all in one auditorium, and that's your intro to chemistry? Right. That's a big public university, right? That's intro to chem at UC Santa Barbara.
Right.
So I would say tour in, maybe do your local tours at the end of 10th grade. And then maybe 11th grade, maybe you plan a weekend, like if you have a fall break, you can do a quick 2 or 3 day trip. The thing about touring in your junior year is it almost serves as much to pull colleges off the list as it does to add them to the list. So it's okay to tour colleges and not like them. It's actually that gives us as much information as liking them. Right.
And so do you, I'd like that you said finding your people, and I've used that term with my own kids, that, your people are somewhere, and you fit somewhere, and so you don't have to worry about that. So I love that you said that, and the fact that it's not about us, the parents, it's about our kids and what's comfortable. So, even if we want them to go someplace and we're like, we really want you to, are you leading that way? And then they're like, yeah, no, I don't really like it. We just have to accept that. Otherwise they're going to be home right after that first year. And we don't want that.
Right. That's exactly right.
So I want to have you talk a little bit about what you do, your services, and our students all have
Yep.
counselors. So what distinguishes you? Why would someone need that outside resource?
Right. So we definitely don't replace school counselors. Every student who applies to college needs their school counselor. School counselors write letters of recommendation. They send transcripts. They perform immensely important functions. So we always tell our students, you need to build and nurture that relationship with your school counselor. It's not something that we replace. What we do is we're extra hand-holding and extra guidance. So one of the bigger problems that we have in public schools in the United States is the student to counselor ratio is very, very high. I literally just saw a report yesterday from the American School Counselor Association, which recommends no more than 250 students per counselor caseload. And unfortunately, the numbers are significantly higher than that. So again, I'm in California. The average high school counselor in California has 600 students in their caseload. It's really awful. And so what it means is they have time, kind of barely, to do what they need to do, to get those letters of recommendation done, to move transcripts around. But keep in mind that your school counselor is also doing so many other things other than college advising, right? They're doing all your scheduling, they're doing behavior situations, they're doing actual counseling, they're doing, if there are any drug or alcohol problems on campus, they're doing bullying awareness, they're doing so much. They literally have like 8 jobs, in the time of one human.
Right.
So what we do is only college. We only help people with the college search and application process.
Excellent. And so I like that you mentioned nurturing that relationship with the counselor, because of course you need your counselor to know who you are, so that they can write a nice letter that doesn't sound cookie cutter and the same for every single student. So that's really important. I think we have covered so much, so many pearls of wisdom, and I always talk about the importance of time, and I appreciate you taking time. Is there anything else that you want to share that maybe we didn't cover? If someone wanted that, maybe in your area or the areas that you mentioned, or even a virtual consultation, how they can reach you?
Sure. I always tell people I'm happy to have a consultation with them. No commitment whatsoever, no obligation. We actually have tons of information on our website, which is megellancounseling.com. And honestly, our services for people who just want a little extra hand-holding. The other thing I think that's important is you've raised 4 kids, so you understand, sometimes your own children seem to think that the ideas that come out of your mouth are really, really not that smart. And so we kind of stand in the middle of that and deflect that. So I like to say we stop teenagers and parents from strangling each other in the fall of their senior year. But honestly, wherever you are in the country, we literally work with clients. I think we have clients in like 20 states. I'm totally happy. There's a contact us page on our website. And if you have questions or you want to talk to me, just reach out through that.
That's fantastic. I really think all the pearls of wisdom that you offered are greatly appreciated. And I think it's going to be very helpful for families that listen and just are going through the process now, that are maybe panicking. Maybe they're parents of juniors that are going, oh boy. And even the ones who in middle school that might say, oh, I might need to start thinking about this, especially during times of, when you have your spring break or winter break, or you go home, wherever that is, to, take a drive through whatever local college or university might be there. So I just want to thank you for taking time to speak with me today. And I always end, remember, how you spend your time matters. Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today.
Thank you, Sharice.